I'd love to present my husband, Platinum of Platinums, and my mentor, um, David Daughtrey.
Thank you, sweetie. Excuse me, everyone. I had to let my baby boy here into my office. He was outside the door and I could see him through the glass. Okay, first of all, Gabby, thank you so much for the intro. Claudia, thank you as always for being here on these calls and for kind of being the engineer behind a lot of this and keeping it all together. I have actually, I'm starting out differently. I just changed some things and I will put the blame on Omar and Elias for this. We were just talking right now and they made me think of something. I come from the old school of networking. I've been doing this since 1981. Not For Life, of course, because For Life didn't exist in 1981. Neither did most of you yet. So I started out, old school, learning what we call napkin presentations. That means you pick up the phone, which was not a cell phone, by the way. There weren't cell phones then. Pick up the landline, make a phone call, and set up a napkin presentation. It means let's meet at Denny's. There was no Starbucks at the time, so let's meet at Denny's. Denny's was always the place of choice to go to. Sit down, and you sit across the table with someone, and it could be a husband and wife, and you're just talking to them, giving a presentation. You got a paper application, and you talk to them, and hopefully right there, you get them inked, get them signed right there, during that presentation. Times have changed. We got cell phones now. We've got internet. We got social media. Everything is much faster and cheaper, by the way. I remember when cell phones came out, my first cell phone bill was almost $2,000. I about choked to death. I couldn't believe it. So things have changed. And Omar he knows I'm an old school person, but I do like learning new things and what time I have to take to learn. But I'll tell you what, it's extremely important for all of us. If you're new to networking or you've been doing it for a little while, maybe part-time, or even if you're doing it full-time, there's something we all need to learn to do. And Omar and Elias caused me to think about this gentleman. I'm going to share my screen right now. This guy right here, J.R. Martinez. So this guy spoke at the For Life convention. He was the winner of season 13, Dancing with the Stars. This guy, he came to our For Life convention, and I was trying to think of the year. I'm going to probably say 2010 or 2011, somewhere around there. And his whole talk was about adapt and overcome. You have to learn to adapt. There's one thing constant in life, and that is change. Things change. The world changes. And that's really what our new presentation is about now, our new PowerPoint. It's about all these uncertainties going on, from inflation to wars, to pandemics, all this stuff. We have to learn to adapt. And so if you're learning about networking, there's no reason to think it would be any different. You have to learn to adapt. You learn new things. You learn to do things that you didn't do before. And so this gentleman here, his story, real quickly, it's amazing. This guy was in Iraq, all right, in the Gulf War. He was in a Humvee, and it ran over IED, improvised explosive device, and it blew up the Humvee. Everybody died, I think, except two people, him and another guy. He survived it, but he had burns on over 80% of his body. You can see his face, all right? He goes back home. He's extremely depressed, doesn't know what to do with life. He's all burnt up. He doesn't even want to look at himself in the mirror. He hates the way he looks after all the operations, by the way, that he had. Well, his mother was trying to figure out what to do just for him to get a life back. She saw, and I don't know where it was, but she saw an advertisement where a soap opera, a TV soap opera that's on every day, was looking for an actor that was a burn victim. Someone was a burn just to do like 3 episodes, and that was it. Well, she actually applied for him. She applied for him. He didn't know it. And when she got the letter saying that he was accepted, to go and try, she had to talk him into it. He didn't want to, but she talked him into it and he went. Well, guess what happened? It didn't turn out to be 3 episodes. It turned out to be years. He ended up being on that soap opera. Then he goes on Dancing with the Stars and he wins it. Here he is right here, season 13 winner. So his whole life, what he does now, his whole talk about his life is learning to adapt and overcome. And so I kind of wanted to start with that because Omar and Elias had mentioned to me that there's a new tool that I need to learn. What's it called, Omar? Boards?
Boards.
Boards. So I'm going to learn boards. Okay. But here's the point. The point is that we all need to do that. Whether you're an old timer like me, it doesn't matter how successful you've been, we still have to learn to adapt and overcome. And if you can keep that in your mind, in your head, and be open to that, you'll be very successful. Okay. Especially in networking, because all these things we all learn. All right. And no one, honestly, I don't consider anybody better than anybody else. All right. Nobody went to Harvard and got a degree in networking. The best school there is, the best educator there is in this business is experience. So yes, some are more experienced than others, and it's that experience that translates, into success. Okay. So today, what we're discussing, as Claudia mentioned, is O.P.P. Many of you might have heard of O.P.M, other people's money. You go to a bank and you want to buy a house, start a business, whatever. You're basically borrowing other people's money that deposited into the bank. Bank's giving it to you, but it's O.P.M, other people's money. People do that in business. They do it in life all the time. All right. Well, networking, the greatest resource we have is people. It's people. We're not asking anybody to invest $100,000 into starting your for-life business. It's a couple $100. That's it. So it's all about people, and it's numbers of people. You can't do 1 million life points of volume with just 10 people or 100 people. You've got to build a lot of people to do that. And that's one thing I like about the for-life opportunity. It's not based upon a small group of people doing a lot of business. Because what happens if 1 or 2 people drop out? It could kill you. But when you're talking, 100 life points, $150, $130 a month is your personal investment in your business and in yourself. You're investing in yourself every month. You're not investing in overhead and inventory and employees and all that stuff, right? So when you're talking about that, it's based on numbers, strength in numbers. There's always strength in numbers, all right? So I want to go back in time when I started For Life in 1998, October 20 was the day. 2 more days, you guys, is my 24th anniversary. That's amazing. 24 years ago right now, I was talking to Gabby about flying to Utah. I think we already had our ticket. Flying to Utah to take a look at a company called For Life. I had not made my decision that if I was going to do For Life or not. Why? I had already been through some network marketing failures. I didn't fail. I worked hard. I worked very hard and I had built some great organizations. The company failed me. The company went down in flames because they did their job poorly. They didn't, whether it was bad administration, poor decisions, whatever it was, those companies failed. And you're going to run into people now and then. In fact, more often today than when I started For Life, because more people have been around network marketing. And they might have been burnt. They might have gotten into Monavi. They might have gotten into Vima. They might have gotten into Advocare. They might have gotten into Zango. Those are all companies that are gone. All right. So my point is this. You never base tomorrow's successes on yesterday's failures. So I knew that I could use my skills, my experience from the previous 18 years of networking before For Life. But I had to have a company that was going to be around. I had to have a company I could believe in. I was wounded really bad. And I was sick, by the way, I had Crohn's disease. All right. I was broke. I sold everything I had, which was a plane, a yacht, Mercedes, BMW, a house in Laguna Beach, California. Sold it, got rid of it all. Started life over again. Well, this time around, what was the most important thing to me? The stability of the company. What is the founder's attitude? What's his mindset? But most of all, what is his exit strategy? When people start a business, they tend to have an exit strategy. You all know Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of those is begin with the end in mind. All right. So you think ahead. Well, I wanted to find out what David Lismy was thinking ahead. And I asked him when Gabby and I went to Utah. And the funny thing is, just a side note here, Gabby and I get to Utah. I didn't know David Lismy at all. We go into his office. Nathan Larson was the one that actually took us in there. Nathan had been with 4Life for like 2 days, 2 or 3 days. It's like his 3rd day working at 4Life. And we sat down in a little chair, sofa, and David's desk was right. It was a rented facility, by the way, rented in like where the back is a garage, one of those garages that roll up, where you keep boxes in the back. That's how it was. Gabby and I sit down and we're just sitting there, and all of a sudden this fly drops dead out of the air and just lands in between me and Gabby. And we look at each other and we say, I said, I wonder if this is an omen. So anyhow, this fly dropped dead between us, and David Lisby walks in, and I asked him some serious questions. I said, one of the questions was, what is your exit strategy? I said, do you plan on selling this company once it becomes very successful, which it will be successful, because I did some research on David. I knew he'd already had 2 previous companies in network marketing that he'd been affiliated with. One is a co-founder, not the founder, but co-founder. And the other one, he helped put the business plan together and did their marketing material, books basically, with his mom, Louise Tinney. And those companies are Nature Sunshine Products and Enrich, which today is called Unicity. So he's a successful man. He has experience, okay? Check that off. He's got principles and values, because I did some research on him. He was nominated Entrepreneur of the Year, by the way, in the state of Utah, which is incredible. Check that one off, all right? So now I just wanted to know, what's his mission statement for 4Life? And his mission statement basically was to, first of all, taking transfer factor to the world. You guys remember that? Taking transfer factor to the world? That was before Together Building People. That was the slogan. And I asked him, do you plan on selling the company? No. Okay. Second question. Do you plan on taking the company public? Because for a network marketing company, that's almost like, I'm not going to say death, but any of you know what happened to Herbalife? If you don't want to happen to Herbalife, look it up on the internet. Just look at it. This just happened a few years ago. They about went under, all right, because of what happened with their stock, all right? So I asked David Lismy, he knows this. No, not going public, not selling. I said, okay, what's your goal? To create a legacy company. Legacy company, wonderful. There are some other legacy companies out there. Amway's a legacy company. Nu Skin's a legacy company. Forever Living's a legacy company. Shackley's a legacy company. There's a number of them out there. Great. That means I can build something now. If I do my job and the company does their job, we got a winning combination. Understand? It's a partnership. They have to do what they do, and they have to do it well, and they've done that, which is to pay the commissions, process, payments, keep inventories, get orders out the door, administrate, open up new markets, pay overhead expenses, pay licenses and taxes, and run a solid, healthy company. They've done that. So they've done their part. Now the question is, what about us? We distributors. They made an agreement with us. What's the agreement? The agreement is they will do no television, no radio, no, all their marketing budget goes to who? You and me. 64% of all commissionable volume gets paid out. Now, what has that meant to me? 4Life's paid my people, my organization, over $2 billion with a B, $2 billion in the last 24 years. Now, a lot of people have gotten a piece of that pie. Some people have gotten big pieces, some people smaller pieces, but everybody determines how big of a piece you want to get through your own effort, your own work. Okay. So I come back from Utah. Now, what am I going to do? I know I'm going to be doing O.P.P a lot, other people's people. I did not want to bring anybody from the previous company I was involved with into 4Life because I considered them cancer. They're part of the reason the company failed. There were a lot of sharks, a lot of snakes. I saw fist fights at convention. I mean, it's incredible things I saw in the previous company I was with. So I wanted to start over again, fresh, new market, new blood, fresh blood. So what do? I start talking to a few people that I happen to know over the years. And I said, hey, do you have a list? Any list of network marketers? I'll talk to them. Okay. I'll make the phone calls. All right. So I just started establishing relationships, friendships. One of those turned out to be Jeff Altgilber's. I talked to Jeff. First 3 times I talked was a no, not interested. Why was he not interested? He happened to be part of the company or distributor of the company. The previous one, David Lisenby was involved in, and that company got sold out. All right. And basically, Jeff was very upset and very angry about it. And that was his concern as well about For Life. What's the mission statement? But I was able to persuade. I won't say convince, because I don't really consider myself someone who convinces people. I persuade them. They convince themselves because the green light turns on. They go from red or yellow to green. And now it's time to go. So I told Jeff, I said, okay, Jeff, you're really the first person that I'm sponsoring in For Life. And this, by the way, was after a few months that I've been in For Life. I said, you're the first person. I said, so I got a lot of time and I need people. You know people I don't know. So let's put a plan together. So step 1, I encourage all of you, when you sponsor someone, put a plan together with them, partner with them. Jeff and I made an agreement, 8 to faint, start at 8 o'clock in the morning till you feel like fainting at night, jamming the phones, okay? Just jamming the phones. Keep in mind, there was no internet, basically, where there was, but it really wasn't going yet in 1998, all right? But what I did have was I got a conference bridge for $50 a month. That's all I could afford. $50. Eagle Telecommunications. So Eagle gave me a bridge for $50 of 500 lines. 500 people could call. But guess what? It was a toll call. It wasn't toll free. I couldn't afford a toll free. So everyone had to pay to call. And we would just give people this conference line and say, call. You've got to hear about this new product. You've got to hear what's this For Life company, right? Well, Jeff started bringing some people to the table. So what I started doing is I started developing a relationship with all of them. Now, it's kind of interesting talking to Omar and Elias before this call here. I believe, Omar, you said you're on my 19th level, I think it is.
Yeah, that's correct. 19th level.
And Elias, I think you said 13, something like that, 13th level.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now, obviously, I'm not working with Omar and Elias on a daily basis. They're way down in my organization. But please understand that your network is like a tree. In fact, we call it a tree. If you talk to the company, it's always referred to as the tree. All right, where is so-and-so? In the tree. Well, the deeper the roots of a tree, the stronger it is. When a wind comes along, all right, it's not going to blow over because it's deep rooted. All right. And so that's how I wanted to build my business. Now, how am I going to do that? By spending a lot of time working with my people's people, and then my people's people, and people's people. And you just keep on developing those relationships. So number 2, I would say, be like Mother Goose. I was Father Goose, meaning that I knew all of my little geese that were signed up on level 1, 2, 3, 4. And in fact, I had a rule. I told everybody, you must know everybody in the first 4 levels of your business. You know their name, you know how many kids they got, their spouse's name, you know, if they've got a dog named Fido, right? So you know everything about them, a dog lover, as you can tell. You know everything about them, all right? So that way, if the person you sponsored goes MIA on you, and that happened, by the way, it happened. And I'll tell that story in a second. If the first person goes MIA, you got that person's person below because you developed a friendship with them, a relationship with them, get to know them a little bit, okay? Now, if you declare yourself, and that's something I talk about a lot, declare yourself, meaning that let your organization, your downline know that you're here, you're ready to run, you're ready to present, bring it on. I used to tell Jeff, scrub me up. I'm a doctor, scrub me up. And that came about, by the way, because people would call me. And because I took the time to study about transfer factor a little bit, one day I practiced in the mirror talking about, messenger molecules, talking about natural killer cells, all that stuff. People call me and say, hello, doctor. I'm not a doctor, but we kind of laughed about it. But I tell Jeff, scrub me up, because Jeff he'd call me up. He'd say, are you at your post? I'd say, scrub me up. I'm ready. And he would have someone he'd bring to do a call with me, three-way calls, a lot. And then we get ready for the conference call in the afternoon. All right. So Jeff introduces me to some people. Now, while that's going on, I'm scouting new people in my time. So if I'm not talking to Jeff's people, I'm now looking for new people. I'm kind of like the guy in the circus. You ever see a guy gets a plate spinning on a stick? He's got one plate going, and then he gets a second one going. Well, he can do two because he's got two hands. But what happens when he's got to do 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7? He's running back and forth. That's how I was, like the guy in the circus, talking to people. All right. Some of them will, some of them won't. So what? It's not my decision. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So you become what's called a driver. A driver is someone who knows how to use O.P.P, other people's people. You drive through them. And the only way that's going to happen is if you declare yourself a leader. And when I say leader, it doesn't mean you're better than anybody else. It just simply means that you're willing to get in with that baby distributor that you've got, that new person. And even if you're both brand new, it's really fun. Jeff and I had fun together, 8 to faint. All right. 90 days of massive action. That's what we did. All right. And I've done that with a few distributors, 90 days of massive action. But you team up with that person you sponsor, create a plan with them, even if they're part-time. Say, okay, you know what? I'm full-time. And if I'm full-time and you're part-time, when you're doing it part-time, great, let's get you on. You introduce me to people. And when you're doing your day job or whatever, I'll work the people that you brought to the table. I'll work them. All right. And that's what I started doing. And so Jeff introduced me to a number of people. One of those people, I'm going to get down to a lot of you here because you're in this particular line. And I apologize, by the way, because I do have some pictures, but I've got multiple servers in my house here and they're scattered around. I'll have to get them one day and pull them out. It goes way back to 2000, 2002, in that era. But the first person that I was introduced, one of the first few people I was introduced to, the Hymases, Sue and Steve Hymas. Back in 1998, they had 23 grandchildren. Today, they probably have 1,000 great-grandchildren. All right. So they're busy people. All right. And they were retired. And they're still alive, by the way. So they signed up in For Life. They came on the call. They brought Gene and Arlene Hubersberger. Gene and Arlene Hubersberger, they lived in Roy, New Mexico, population of 12 people in a trailer park. All right. That's where they were living at the time. So they signed up. And yeah, we're getting people signed up here and there. Okay. Getting them on this call. And by the way, on the call, the presentation, you don't have visuals. It's just someone talking, giving testimonies, talking about transfer factor, talking about the vision, because there wasn't anybody making any money yet. We had to sell the vision of what we're going to accomplish. The company was doing, when I joined For Life, like, I don't know, something like 27 or 30,000 a month, life points, nothing. They could barely pay the bills. All right. So here I am driving through people, getting to know them all. Gene and Arlene Hubersberger introduced me to Krista Phillips. She introduces us to her dad, Dave Phillips. I mentioned this to Omar and Elias before the call. Dave Phillips, he was involved in network marketing a bit before. He asked me if I was willing to go up to Washington State to do a meeting, a physical meeting. He could put some people in a room. He said, get about 20 people. I said, absolutely, I'll go up there. Went up there, started doing a meeting with him. So for me, it's all about the relationship. Starting a relationship and developing that relationship into a strong bond and a strong trust. So I keep on driving this down line. And eventually it ends up in Florida with a gentleman by the name of Edgar Mojica. Edgar calls me up on the phone and says, hey, I know this guy, if you'll talk to him. In fact, Edgar's kind of funny. He says, I don't know if he likes me anymore because every time a network marketing company comes around, I call him. And so I don't think he trusts me. But will you talk to him, Dave? He said, I hear you speak Spanish. And I said to Edgar, I said, soy gringo que habla español. No hay problema. I'll talk to him. And so Edgar had me call Herminio Nevares. I call Herminio, start talking to him. Funny story. My first call to Herminio, he's a veterinarian, Dr. Nevares. And I could tell he wasn't in an office or anything. He was outside on a cell phone. And all of a sudden he goes, David, espera un minuto. And I hear this phone kind of ruffling somewhere, puts on the ground. And I hear this commotion. And all of a sudden I hear this, and then all of a sudden here's, and what's going on? And all of a sudden he picks up the phone. He says to me in English, I'll translate here. He says, I'm sorry, I have a cow here that was giving birth and having a difficult time. I had to help the baby come out. So he helped give birth to a baby cow right then. And that's how our relationship started. And he asked me if I was willing to go to Puerto Rico. Now, when someone asks me to fly a distance like that, I'm not just going to go spend money and just go for the sake of just going, because back then I didn't have a lot of money yet. I said, okay, how many people can you get together? His answer was, not a lot of people, but the people I can get, I believe they're quality people. They've been around network marketing. They understand the concept and they have dreams. I went, guess how many people showed up? 5. Today, 3 are platinum and 2 are golds. So that's what happened to those 5. Okay. So here's my point. It's not always about quantity. Okay. It's about quality. But I kept on driving that leg for about 6 years, building that. Okay. That's the way I build my business. If you can do that with 3 legs that you can build like that, you will build yourself an empire, because there's always O.P.P, other people's people. But the only way you're going to get into O.P.P is if you declare yourself someone that's willing to do that. And it might make you uncomfortable at first, telling someone, look, your people, my presentation. All right. Take the time to prepare a presentation. We've got a new PowerPoint. All right. That we want to make sure it's available to all of you, and use that PowerPoint. Do a 20-minute, 30-minute, but many times you're not going to have a lot of time to do a PowerPoint. You might only get 10 minutes. Today, I did 2 calls with Anderson Carpes, my guy in Brazil. Turns out one of them lived in New Jersey. He's in Brazil now, but lived in New Jersey. Speaks fluent English. So that was nice. I got to present in English to a guy in Campo Grande, Brazil. But Anderson brought him to the table, O.P.P. And I even talked to him about that today. I said, look, and this guy, by the way, is successful. You know what this guy does? He does Pix in Brazil. What's Pix? It's like PayPal. PayPal is their competitor. He sets up companies with Pix, and he does very well. But I talked to him about networking, the concept of residual income. I had to hit him in areas because I could tell that he wasn't hurting for money. But I said, look, people we don't know. They're going to hear about transfer factor and for life from someone at some point in time, somewhere. So why don't you? You're an influencer. You know people. Why don't you bring them, invite them? And then he mentioned his wife's a dentist. I said, great. I work with dentists and doctors and lawyers, all kinds of people. They also want residual income. If a dentist stops working on teeth, they stop making money. And so we talked. We're going to talk again with his wife in 2 days, you see. But he's excited. The other gentleman I talked to is a doctor. He lives right on the border of Paraguay and Brazil. But the point is this. What happens when you start using O.P.P? You get better at it, okay? One thing to keep in mind, 3rd point here, keep this in mind. You will have more credibility with a stranger than you will with someone who knows you well. Why is that? Because they put you in a box. They see you a particular way, especially family, friends, neighbors, people that know you well. They don't look at you as a successful multimillionaire network marketer. You're going to have to change that perception. And what's the best way to change that perception? My halo light's flashing for some reason now. What's the best way to change that perception? You get in there and you start thinking, acting, working, behaving, all the things like a platinum. Once you think, work, act like a platinum, guess what happens? You start to all of a sudden transition into a platinum. That's what happens. So declare yourself. Don't be afraid to use O.P.P. And here's what's extremely important. When you talk to your people's people, they don't know whether you're an intergalactic diamond or you just signed up yesterday. They don't know the difference. Seriously. So you be who you want to be. Be the platinum that you are. So now you're presenting, talking to them. And look, you don't think I fumbled around? I called it trans factor at first. Hey, let me tell you about this trans factor. It's transfer factor. And I practiced in the mirror. I practiced when I was driving a car. I talk to myself. When I come up to a stoplight, people look at me talking to myself. They think I'm crazy. But I'm practicing my presentation in my head. What are the words I'm going to say? I'm the kind of guy that doesn't like to mess up in front of people. Now I'm a bit different about it because I know I've messed up a lot. But the point is, I want to do a good job. So therefore, if one of you, Arnaldo, if you introduce me to one of your people, and I get in there and I do a really good presentation and get that person excited about joining for life, being part of the family, part of the team, investing in themselves every month, building a network, building a residual income, multinational business. And I just hit them with all these benefits, all these bullet points. And they say, you know what? That sounds awesome. Yeah, I want to get in and give this a try. I got a lot to gain, nothing to lose. What's it, less than $200, start my own business. I've got all these tools available, everything at my disposal. Yeah, let's do this. Well, if we get in there and we sign someone up, you think there's a chance you might introduce me to someone else? Of course. And then that person will do the same. Pretty soon what happens is you spend more of your time doing O.P.P than scouting new people for yourself. I love to scout. Scouting is fun for me. I love the thrill of meeting someone and taking them from a complete stranger to a distributor. I look at it like a skill. Like, okay, this person doesn't know me. Let's establish a friendship first. Then let's establish. And I meet people at the dog park or the dog beach, at the baseball field. Our neighbors signed up. Their son played baseball with Brandon, our boy. You meet people all the time out there. All right. We socialize wherever we go. All right. I think it's fun to take them from a complete stranger and get them to become a distributor. But the real responsibility begins when you sign them up. That's where the real work begins. All right. You don't want to build your business linear. You want to build a network, and you want to build it deep. All right. So that means you're going to get into your people, your people's people, your people's people, and you're going to start taking the time to know them. Like I said, their dog Fido. Let's say they love golden retrievers, and you're in the process of trying to get this person signed up. Jane's the one who introduced them to you. Jane's at work. You're doing follow-up. You call them up. Hey, how's Fido, your golden retriever, doing? You establish something in common with all the new people and commit to writing it down or putting it in your cell phone or something. We've got the CRM now. You've got the, I was going to say Connect, the For Life app. You can use that as a contact relationship manager. Keep track, you guys. Keep track of the people you talk to. Okay? Now, I'll admit, I've got 2 million people that have signed up in my organization since I joined. Can't keep track of everybody. It's impossible. But I do my best. Nowadays, what I do with the people I'm working with, I help them follow up. I talked to Anderson today. I said, Anderson, how's Bruno? Have you gotten back to Bruno? So I help the people that I work with personally remember who you've introduced me to talk to. I'm not going to necessarily follow up with them now. You need to do it, Anderson, but I'm going to remind him. And then he'll tell. So in other words, I'm having him report to me in a way. I don't call it that, but in a sense is what he's doing. I followed up with so-and-so and so-and-so. He likes that. In fact, he's asked me, Dave, I want to report to you every single week what's gone on through the week, who have signed up. That's just the way I work with Anderson. With Jeff, here's how it was with Jeff. It was the nightly beer. I don't drink. I've never drank my entire life. Jeff likes beer, all right? So I finish my work at faint for me would be about 11 o'clock. Now, I don't call the U.S. at 11 o'clock, but I'm calling Hawaii. I still have an organization in Hawaii because when it's 11 o'clock here, it was 8 o'clock out there. Yeah, I'll call 8 o'clock at night, talk to someone, do a presentation. Well, 11 o'clock here, what time is it back in South Carolina where Jeff is? 2 o'clock in the morning. So I would talk to Jeff sometimes, usually about my 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock his time. He's drinking his beer. Okay. Usually already had one beer. He's on the second one. And I call him up. We start talking. He's telling me about who he talked to throughout the day. And we're just reminiscing about how the day went. Next thing you know, I hear this. He's snoring on the phone. So I say, good night, Jeff. Hang up. Okay. I'd go to bed. When I lay down at night, I would start thinking in my head who I talked to. You guys, I took this business very seriously. I would review in my head this person, the potential. I never judge anybody. Don't judge because you'll be wrong. Okay. You think someone's going to do something, they don't. You think they're not going to do anything, they do. But I would always review in my head and look at the potential of this person. Everyone's got potential. Okay. And so I would look at maybe the resources. All right. Like talk to this doctor today. The doctor I talked to with Anderson. He teaches. You know how many students he has? 5,000. We're like 5,000 millennials. We're not going to probably get them all, but we're going to try. So I would go to bed tonight thinking about, okay, if this guy's got access, instant access to 5,000 people, bring it on. I've given presentations on a Sunday in a cathedral full of thousands of people and talked about why God wants you to be rich. Seriously, he does. He wants all of you to live a life of abundance. You can call it rich, you can call it independent, whatever you want to call it, but having money, he wants you to be successful. I talked in a cathedral on a Sunday about that, all right? So my point is this. How did I do all these things? O.P.P. I didn't know the pastor that invited me in the cathedral. Someone else knew him. I met him through someone else, all right? Lately, I've shown some pictures of the Woman King. Have you guys seen the Woman King? I'm curious. Have you guys seen the Woman King yet? Omar, you got to go see it, buddy. I think it's in Colombia. But yeah, the Woman King, it was #1 in the country. It's in all the theaters. It's all around the world. They premiered it. But anyhow, it's Viola Davis. Many of you might know Viola Davis. Viola Davis is the only actor or actress in history that has won an Oscar, a Golden Globe, and an Emmy Award the same year. Okay. Very famous actress. If you look her up, you'll know who she is. She's been in The Help, Fences with Denzel Washington. But anyhow, Viola she plays like the Woman King. She's a Woman King warrior. These female warriors protected the tribe. These fighting female warriors. They were the fighters, the women. So it's all about it's a true story, by the way, in Africa. Anyhow, she is the lead star in the movie, Viola. Well, the entire fighting cast used 4Life protein bars, 4Life TF or Pro-TF protein, and Energy Go sticks and transfer factor for 5 months during the filming. Those were their supplements, their products they used. Sony Productions sent over a plane load of product, 4Life product. How did that happen? I didn't know Viola personally. I met Viola through Gabby McLean. If you look up Gabriella McLean on Instagram or Facebook, she's a celebrity trainer. She trains a lot of celebrities here in Los Angeles. And she's in incredible shape, by the way, Gabby McLean. She used to be a dancer for Madonna back in the old days. All right. Well, Gabby McLean, if you click on supplements on her website, guess where it takes you? Her My 4Life page. 4Life is her choice. And the crazy thing is now she has an agent now after doing the Woman King. All these production companies, MGM just hired her. They're hiring her to train their cast for movies. All right. She's got an agent. In fact, I was talking to her husband, Aaron McLean, just this Sunday. They were in concert here playing. It's a band called Air Supply. You might have heard of Air Supply. Aaron, who's Gabby's husband, is the lead guitarist. How did I meet Aaron? I didn't know Aaron before. I met Aaron through Graham. Graham Russell's the founding member of Air Supply, the founder of the band back in 1975. That's even before my time. All right. Graham's like 74 years old now. And by the way, they're in Brazil right now in concert. They're just on tour. How did I meet Graham? Through Joel. Joel is a friend of mine. Well, Joel is actually the brother of a friend of mine. I served a mission for my church in South America in 79 to 81. Daryl Stevenette was one of my mission companions. I come home from my mission, go down to his house in Provo, Utah, because I was living in Utah at the time. I meet his brother, Joel. We become good friends. Joel's a drummer, professional drummer. He's in a recording studio in Utah. I happen to be up there visiting Daryl. We stop by the studio. I hang out. I meet Graham. Graham happens to be there. Okay. I could have just sat back and done nothing, but I introduced myself to Graham. Again, declare yourself. Do not be afraid that when you're around people to say, shake a hand, say hi. I happen to have my guitar. I play guitar. I happen to have my silent guitar, which I can play on airplanes. It's silent. And I showed it to Graham. I got a picture of him playing my guitar. We're talking. All right. This is a guy, by the way, that's won his own Grammys. All right. So I meet Graham. We exchange phone numbers. I just asked him. I said, "You're going to be in concert down in San Diego? I'd like to come see you." "Yeah, we're going to be playing with the San Diego Philharmonic Orchestra. All right. Here's my phone number. Give me a call. I'll get you some tickets." He got me, not just me, but my family tickets. Through him, I met Aaron. That's how I met Gabby, and that's how we got to Viola. O.P.P. Other people's people. Whether it's down to Arminio and down to the people below Arminio, Juan, and going on to Hugo Johnson, or any of them. Anybody in the send down line that I've worked with, which is pretty much the first generations, or Richard Queck, in Malaysia. There's another great 4Life distributor, Gold International Diamond, on his way to Platinum International Diamond. Met him through Indra, who's in Australia. So understand something. You're all here today, every single one of you, because you knew someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew someone, and we all go up to Dr. Robertson. Dr. Robertson, basically distributor number one. All right. Now, how many of you know Dr. Robertson personally? How many of you were sponsored by Dr. Robertson? Nobody. O.P.P. Other people's people. So what we have to do, you guys, is we have to continue that trend, continue that philosophy, all right, that mindset of using O.P.P. And it'll only happen if you declare yourself. And that doesn't mean that you command people and tell them what to do. You be of service to them, all right? And when you get in to, like Omar, I know you've got someone recently, because you told me the other day about a woman that's got a list of people. There you go, buddy. You get in, you start working with her. If you do a good job, trust me, she's going to probably be ringing your phone off the hook, asking you to talk to more people. And sometimes that can be problematic because you want to duplicate yourself. All right. In other words, you can't build everyone's business for them. But I'm the kind of guy that if I have to sponsor the next door neighbor's cat to lead me to the owner, I'll do it in the beginning. I don't do that today, obviously. You work your way up the food chain. All right. You might start off down here as a little piece of algae, and you work your way up to the great killer whale, or whatever you want to call it. All right. The point is, you work up the food chain. And that's done by O.P.P, working other people's people. And so doing that, you become a diamond, presidential diamond. Understand, you become a diamond just by linear selling. You can sell 4Life products. And in fact, our presentation now, we talk about being a customer, being a customer and a sharer or seller, or being a customer and a seller and a builder. Okay. So you can become a diamond, but if you want to become a presidential, bronze, or above, you have to build structure. And the only way that's going to happen is O.P.P and declaring yourself. Because the chances, if you sit back and you think, okay, I've sponsored these people, go on, you guys, go out there and build a business, it's not going to happen. All right. Now, I shouldn't say it won't happen. You can be fortunate. I won't say lucky, because you at least put in the effort to get the 2 or 3 people you got. But if you sponsored 3, and they all become Gold International Diamonds, hats off to you. I want to sit down with you and you show me how you did it. All right. Because I've never seen it happen in my life. So that means you're going to go out and sponsor a lot of people. I've sponsored 145 people, I think, in 24 years. How many is that a year? Not a lot. If you break it down by year, out of the 140 something people, I've got three legs that are my big legs. Sure, there's a diamond here. Maybe a presidential diamond was built over here, but 3 big legs I focused on. And you just drive those things to China. Seriously, just drive them around the world. And that's how you build your 4Life business. Declare yourself, act like a platinum, work like a platinum, Be the platinum in your mind. All right. And you will become a platinum, by the way. That's what I did. Long before I was a platinum. I had platinums below me, by the way. I was so concerned in my beginning of my business. I was so concerned about the roots of the tree, wanting it to go deep, that I made sure I had platinums below me before I became a platinum. That's okay. Didn't bother me. I'm proud to say that almost every platinum in 4Life is in my organization. All right. So that creates a solid business, you guys. That's what you want to build, a solid future. So with that, I don't know if there's any questions about O.P.P. Any suggestions anybody might have to pitch in?
Yeah.
Turn it back over to Elias.
Quick question. Here's a scenario that has repeated a lot, and somebody just actually sent the question through a messenger. So can you explain the difference between what you did building downwards instead of people thinking they're building downwards in this example? Because this person has personal experience where she focuses, let's say she sponsored Omar, right? And Omar is the leader that's bringing him people. But instead of focusing on the people below Omar, she still focuses on Omar, you know, and still focuses and focuses and focuses without searching for the right person below.
So what would happen if Omar disappeared?
Exactly. Thank you.
Understand something. More often than not, your great leaders end up being someone on level 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let me go back to the Jeff Outgilbert story. I mentioned this earlier and I didn't elaborate on it. I mentioned that Jeff went MIA on me. Okay. Life happens. You sponsor someone and they have a personal crisis, whatever it might be. Sometimes, in this case, a divorce. Your mind is somewhere else. You're not even thinking about your 4Life business because you've been heartbroken or whatever's happened. You're in a personal crisis. Okay. In this case, I couldn't even find him. He went MIA. Okay. Fortunately, I had enough of a relationship with the people on level 2 and 3 and 4. We just kept building. Jeff comes back into the picture about a year later. Hey, Jeff, by the way, I want you to know that there's some people in Puerto Rico that have gotten started. I think they're going to do really good. Had no idea what happened. Okay. That's the difference between a driver, someone who drives. Now I've got to give Jeff credit. He knows how to drive as well, but we worked as a team. Okay. Give an example. I might have mentioned this before to you guys. I can't remember. Sherry Din. I'm off to Singapore. This is now we're talking about 2004, 2005. I'm off to Singapore because 4Life was entertaining the idea of opening up Asia. And I had a distributor who had someone in Singapore who I had already talked to over the phone many times, Richard Coe. I go out there to do a meeting for Richard Coe, an event for Richard Coe, and I get a phone call from Jeff. He has Linda Emerson on the line. Linda is up in Canada. Claudia knows Linda Emerson. She owns a farm, I think in Winnipeg, and she takes care of her parents. I don't even know if her parents are still alive or not, but she was taking care of her parents. So O.P.P, they used me, I used them. Downline calls me, Dave, we got a lady out there, Sherry Din's her name. She knows how to network. She's a dynamic lady. She's a strong-willed lady. All right. So you got to be patient with her because, you know, she'll get in your face, but you got to talk to her. We'll go ahead and give her a call, give her your information, tell you're going to call her, but you got to call her and you got to meet with her. In fact, Jeff even said to me, do not leave Singapore until you've sat down with her. And I did. She kept me up till 3 a.m. talking about how she could not do another network marketing company because she was in Formore. And I kept telling her Formore is not going to even come to Singapore, you know, so, you know, trust me, because I knew who was running Formore. And so we talked, we bonded, developed a relationship. We got her signed up. I left. Guess what Jeff did? Jeff was so committed to driving that downline. Remember I mentioned he'd gone through a divorce. He was single. He'd never been out of the United States in his lifetime. He went and got a passport. He moved to Guam. He moved to Guam and lived in Guam and traveled all around Southeast Asia, from Korea to Malaysia, Singapore, and the Philippines. And that's why Jeff's got an incredible downline in those markets, because he not only, I mean, think about it. What a commitment to move out there, spend your life for the next, 4 or 5 years, just building O.P.P, other people's people. Jeff used me. He leveraged me when I was there. And of course, Now he moved out there. I leveraged him to get out there and just start building with the people. So the answer to that question, whoever gave that question is, look, you can sit back and don't get me wrong, what I'm saying here, you can be a cheerleader. Omar, go, let's go, Omar, man. You could, and support Omar like crazy. But my recommendation is, because Omar, I know Omar well enough to know now, he's a great guy, a humble guy. He's not a self-centered guy. Sometimes it's difficult to work with people that are like, don't touch my downline. Leave my downline alone. You can't talk to them. All right. Well, I've been fortunate that most people that understand network marketing will like to use me. In fact, I would tell them, abuse me when I was starting. It's okay. That's what I do. I got to talk to O.P.P, other people's people. And if I'm not doing it with you, Elias, or you, Omar, or you, Anna, or Ronaldo, I'll do it with someone else. Okay. So my recommendation is team up with Omar. This lady, for example, that's got this list of people, Omar can get them to the table. All right. Well, if you guys are doing your meetings, then, and Omar, use your sponsor as well. You say, hey, sponsor, I've got 5 new people that are on the call right now. And sponsor, you say hi to them on these Zooms. All right. Reach out to them. You can pull a report anytime and see anyone that's new that's signed up in your business. Don't hesitate to reach out and say, hi, I just want you to know that I'm here. I'm available for you. I'm your upline. You know, my name is Mark, and reach out to me. I'm here. We're networking and we build this business through people. So I just want you to know that I'm here. Now, you can't force people to work with you, but if you do a good job, trust me, success breeds success. I don't know if that helps, Elias.
That was perfect. Thank you so much.
So I don't know if there's any other comments or I saw a 90% mindset. You're right, Omar. or any other questions about anything, but you guys, networking is the future. I'm telling you, network marketing is where it's at. People, you know, even without thinking about it, people are involved in networks and building networks, whether it's through social media, however it is, but it is the future. So if you can develop those skills, and I'll say this and we'll finish, you can lose money in life. I've lost it. I've lost it all and started over. All right. You can even lose health. I've lost it and had to rebuild my health. You can even lose freedom. All right. But no one can ever take your skills. They're yours to keep forever. You developed them. They're yours. So that's what I love about this business. Don't be afraid to develop those skills. All right. No one's perfect. All right. So as you get in and you build, in fact, I used my family, friends, and neighbors as guinea pigs when I started. I'd call them up and say, I just started a new business. Can I tell you about it? And if they were to say no, I'd say, you're not my friend anymore, or I'm going to disown you, Grandma. You know, I practiced on them. I used them as guinea pigs. Seriously. That's how I practiced my presentation when I started. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Elias.
Thank you.